Welcome to Storytime with Gena. I will be your Gena this evening. To my right is Spangle Bear.
Sup?
Hey, Spangle Bear. So how's your life been?
Well, it's been missing Gena for a little bit, so it's glad to be back in the feed here.
Shoot, yeah, Gena's had a lot of excitement going on.
You really have, and I only know like an eighth of it. So I know that we've gotten a couple questions. Is Stina coming back?
Gena's coming back.
And
don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
That's right. There were false reports that you were in Iowa tonight.
I was not.
So luckily you were here on the couch.
Yeah.
So what the heck have you been up to in the months of October and November?
I've been up to a bunch of shit. None of it good. But yeah.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Okay. In the beginning, there was a big bang. Kaboom. No. Actually, I think I got to a point where, obviously, I speak Gena-ese, and not everybody can get on, can comprehend exactly what I'm saying from time to time.
Roughly, muffins and Gena can translate Gena-ese.
Yes, and at some point, my mother became concerned for my mental health. Go figure.
Yeah, I'm going to go with so are we.
Okay, so there may have been valid concerns, and my mother, she encouraged me to go to an emergency room, which was fine. So I went to said emergency room, which is never a good idea. If you have a loved one with a mental health issue, take them to a treatment facility during normal business hours.
Well, let's back up. Do you want to get into why we all were concerned about you?
Go ahead and fill me in.
Okay. You were paranoid and you were manic. Okay,
Probably, yes.
Those were the two things that were really kind of very characteristic of your behavior, really, like the last 3 to 4 months.
Probably, yeah.
You have a lot of stress going on in your life.
Yes, that's a fact.
Right, and I think that you, in an attempt to cope with that stress, may have put things onto another person that didn't actually exist.
Oh,
okay.
People exist.
I know that people exist,
right,
but I think
but
that
it may not have been a valid...
you're making false connections.
Sure.
Right. And assuming that some things are coincidences when they're not, they're by design when really they're just like weird coincidences.
Sure.
And so, people have said, Gena, by people I mean Greg, said, both Greg and I were just sort of like, all right, so, when you first met Gena was very normal. And now Gena is scaring us because she is making these connections and ranting and upset. And it's not that I wanted to hospitalize you, but I really wanted to put you in a hospital.
Right, okay, fine. Well, someone succeeded in that. That's
right,
what we get down
which
to.
was good because you don't know how to help a friend when there's these things going on.
Yes.
And I think that you were coping with the stress in your life in a way that wasn't healthy.
Sure.
So
okay. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
So at some point, I ended up in an inpatient treatment facility, and that was an adventure, I suppose you could call it.
Okay, so what transpires to get you into that facility?
Okay, so maybe when I went to the emergency room, I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, the man that I'm legally married to had signed, apparently, my HIPAA form, and all that I saw was that I had been admitted to the hospital while I was in the bathroom, and someone else who had legal authority to do so had signed documents on my behalf.
Right.
Well, being the independent-minded person that I am, that just enraged me to the extent that I whipped out a lighter and tried to burn said form.
Okay.
Right there in the hospital.
Okay.
By the way, kids, if you are in the hospital and you try to light a paper on fire, it is not going to go well for you.
Apparently they're not fans of that.
So at about that time, they confiscated my lighter and went to put me in restraints that were on the bed, like had my arms tied up and my legs tied up. At some point, an officer of security or the law, I'm not really sure which, had decided to literally stand on my right leg. And this pissed me off so much that once my leg was unfettered, I stomped him in the head.
Oh, no.
Which is also, kids, not a good idea.
Right.
So from there, we went to the inpatient treatment facility.
Okay.
which was fun. I think I mind-fucked them more than they mind-fucked me.
Okay. How so?
Oh, like, they gave you this little homework packet, and it was like, I want to harm myself when... When I have feelings of harming myself, I can speak to this person, right?
When I feel like harming myself, I am on a podcast.
Right. So I was like... I filled it in and left it on my bed because they never asked you if they could see it. They just went around covertly and collected your information. So, like, I'd go to the bathroom and take a shit, and somebody would come in and read my little journal.
Okay.
So, on mine, I put, it was like, I want to harm myself when, and I was like, no desire to harm myself. And then the next question was again about harming yourself, and I was like, still no desire to harm myself. And then it was like, when I feel this way, I can talk to this person. And I was like, better question. When I speak to these people and they have me committed, what the fuck then? And so at the bottom, it was like, what I have learned through this treatment is, and I was like, that I am fucking awesome, and my support system is fucking awesome, and we can get through anything. Well, that pissed him off.
Right.
But eventually...
You're not taking your committal seriously.
Exactly. So eventually, we got to a point of compromise where... They found a medication that they were happy with me taking, and I took it long enough to satisfy their requirements. And now I'm out and free to run amok and do me as I always have.
You're gonna do you as
always.
I hate that phrase.
I love that phrase. Do you, because I'm gonna do me. That's one of my favorites.
That.
Oh yes,
I hate it. So how are you feeling
right now? I feel great. I have been. I mean. I never felt that anybody who knows me or has listened to this podcast for 10 minutes knows I'm crazy. It's just, what level of crazy do you have? What level?
There was one episode where it was like we were in outer space.
Welcome to the space station.
You left, and Greg and I looked at each other and was like, what the fuck?
Hell just happened?
What just happened here? I'm sure any regular listener knows which one it was. I can't remember, but I know it was a little... I was like, should I post that? Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Why not?
So and I will say you seem more lucid, you seem less manic, there's no paranoia, you're not talking about, this or that thing that were sort of triggers for you. So you seem like you're doing a lot better.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yesterday was probably one of the most amazingly crazy days of my life.
Yeah.
Yesterday I showed my ass.
Like, literally?
Yeah, actually, I did moon the neighbors at one point. That happened.
Okay. All right, so I guess treatment hasn't gone effective. But so
just because I moon people, that doesn't mean I'm not lucid.
I mean...
I'll moon you right now for fun.
Okay. Please moon Samantha right now. Do it.
Samantha, I'm going to moon you soon.
Please.
Aw. She's scared.
So, how do you make the decision to moon the neighbors?
Well,
a question I never thought I'd ask.
During this particular time, I was at my mother's, and she and my sister had begun like going just crazy chicken on me. So my mom, first of all, it should be stated that any concern my mother had for my well-being should have been mutual for her own, because anything that I, quote, suffer from, I inherited from her. That's just a fact. And so yesterday she was in this state of rant where she was like, which is common for her. And I was calm, cool, and collected, but leaving. And so I get to my car and I'm scraping off the ice, and I sort of pulled my shorts down just enough to moon the people across the street because I was angry, and tried to take off. And anyway, it was unsuccessful. At some point, she decided to call my father in, so he drives down. I'm not sure exactly how we got to this point, but...
showing your bare ass to the neighbors.
I guess, but I'm allowed to moon people. Fuck, this is America. So, right? I mean, why be an American if you can't moon at will?
Right.
So, anyway, at some point, I went into the garage and grabbed a hammer, right? And I'm standing in between her car and my little sister's car, and I look at my mom while holding a hammer, and I say, Mom, do you like Carrie Underwood? That's it. That's all I said. I was standing in the threshold of the garage, holding a hammer in one hand, asking her if she liked Carrie Underwood. Somehow, she decided, my dad wrestled the hammer away from me, goes to put me in like a chokehold from behind, has my arms up above my head and his hands like draped behind my neck. I slip out of his grip, go to the ground, and looked at him and said, "Daddy, do you like your jewels?" No. And he begins putting his knees together and trying to get at me at the ground, at which point I found out how much he liked his jewels and literally lifted him off the ground by kicking him in the groin and pushing him back. Haven't heard from him since. Hopefully he's okay. Anyway.
Why?
I don't know how we got to that point. Like, I seriously, Mother was ranting. I was trying to leave. She insisted that I not leave. I brandished a hammer, just held one, didn't swing it, didn't try to hurt anyone, had no intention of doing that. Just looked at her and asked a question. Do you like Carrie Underwood? I mean, obviously there were implications there because I took a Louisville slogan to both headlights.
Okay.
Was running through my mind, but I didn't do it.
See, that's not a connection that everybody else made.
That's okay that they didn't. That's totally okay. That's on them.
Now I get it.
Yes.
So they're obviously still very concerned about you.
Oh, probably, but fuck them. I'm fine. Fuck them, but sort of fuck them. Whatever, it's family. You can fuck them as much as necessary, and if they don't come back to you, then it's their problem, not yours. So anyway, after I ended up leaving there, and there are fun stories between here and there, but we're going to leave them out. At some point, my mother decided it was a good idea to follow me, as though surveillance of a person who is accused of paranoia is a good goddamned idea. Like, who does that? Right. I think you're paranoid, ergo, I'm going to fucking follow you. So she did.
Right.
And she pulls up beside me at a tire place because the tires on my car are just bald. Mm-hmm. And I flipped her off and took off. And she followed me down these little side roads. And at one point, she was accelerating up to catch me. And when I look in my rearview mirror and I see her, this just infuriates me. So I throw it in reverse.
Oh, no.
And step on the gas.
Oh, no.
So she's speeding and I'm speeding in reverse, and I was just going to park it on her hood if she didn't back off. But I won that game of chicken. Just kidding. I actually stopped long before I could have had any impact with her, assuming that she was driving responsibly. Anyway.
JK.
JK, Mom, JK. But don't follow me, for real.
LOL.
Right. But seriously, if someone's paranoid, do not fucking follow them around. Because right. A, you are like, I don't know, you are making their paranoia a legitimate concern.
Right.
And so it was that type of situation with my mom yesterday. At some point, the baby daddy, who is still the legal husband, who signed the paper that got me so infuriated, had done a handful of things that really got under my skin. And I had no way of retaliating because he had all of the power and the authority in this situation.
Right.
Simply because of the fact that I had been hospitalized.
Right.
So, feeling helpless, I did something I've never, ever, ever done before. And I retaliated in a financial manner. Everything started around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. By about 4 o'clock, when I realized that I had one manner of retaliation left.
You're belching, by the way.
Sorry.
You're not crying.
Yeah, it's hiccups. Sorry.
Right.
I pulled into a bank, and I went inside. I asked for the account balance. I took out all but $5. I left $5 in the bank account. I went over to his work. They informed me that he wasn't there. I might have implied that I had burned up his money and lit a cigarette.
No, tell the story the way that...
No, because if I tell the entire story... Okay, so it appeared as though I lit my cigarette.
The federal government doesn't care. You tell the story the way that you told it to me earlier. It's okay.
Well, if the federal government decides
this
to
is
care,
all alleged.
Yeah,
might not be real.
This is a paranoid delusion brought to you by...
Seriously, can you trust this woman's word?
Exactly. Thank you. All right, so now we have at least plausible disbelief.
Right.
So I asked if he was there. They told me he was not. I told his coworker to let him know that he had $5 in the account and that I had just lit my cigarette with his last $100 bill. And so standing there in the lobby, smoking my cigarette and the last of his money, I raffs. And then I walked out the door.
I wish my wife hadn't left during that part.
I'm so glad she missed it, because that, if anything, was just ammunition for if you guys ever have a problem.
Yeah, that is actually a very good point.
Okay.
You're right.
So at that point...
you think I give her access to my money. You're funny.
To be honest, though, a couple hours later, I got a hold of him, asked him to come where I was, gave him the majority of his money. It had only been a $1 bill. It wasn't a $100 bill, but I was bluffing because I was angry. So he got back all of his money, save for $1. But boy, I hope he learned a lesson.
So what crazy shit have you done today?
Today's been really calm. I spent the night with a cousin. We, stayed up and had a little slumber party like we did when we were kids. Got to know each other again. Went to the Awful Waffles, shared a piece of chocolate pie. I went up and hung out with a buddy. Actually, he's staying in a friend's house, and so I cleaned up a little for them because, man, is that a bachelor pad. Mm-hmm. But there was a nice little whirlpool tub, and I got it working again, so that was cool.
So
I took an epic bubble bath is what I'm telling you.
What is your... all right, so what is your plan going forward here?
Plan?
I know. It's
Homie, you plan?
It's an insane idea. I'm asking Gena Martinez what her plan is.
I got no plan. That's
well,
a fact.
But I want you to be well, and I think our listeners do too.
I think I'm well. I think you just have to understand that there's a level of crazy that I have. So these are the highlights from the tub. I'm gonna let him tweet these or something.
Yeah, you got to text those to me.
So, they're photos of me with a philosopher's beard made out of bathtub bubbles. It's an epic goatee.
All right, so are you in any trouble or?
Not currently. Although later that day, I did get pulled over and I received a warning ticket from an officer because I was in a left-hand turn lane with a left-hand turn light, and I turned, but I didn't have my signal active at the moment.
Oh boy!
So clearly.
All right, so you're not...
I'm not paranoid, but people are fucking following me, so...
Well, but see...
However that works.
3 weeks ago, you would have made some weird connection with that, but...
Probably. No, there is a connection to be made with that, because the lobby that I was standing in that my husband works for is a company that installs electronic components for cop cars.
Right.
So, there are connections. It's not like I'd be making them, it's just that they exist. So that was fun.
Yeah. So again, I ask you.
Yes.
What's the plan for the future here? What do you need help with?
In terms of what? I
don't know. Mental health, places to live, things. What's going on?
Well, for all intents and purposes, I claim homelessness at the moment. But the truth of the matter is, I have so many offers of places to stay that I'm spoiled.
Right.
So I have a mailing address. I have a home address. I'm not real welcome in my mom's house right now, but that's cool with me because I don't want to be there. And I'm pretty welcome at my dad's house, although I don't know now that I've crushed his stones.
Yeah, but are you not welcome at those places because they're terrified for you and they are overprotective right now?
I don't think so because, to be truthful and honest with you, my mother and sister both were 8 times more manic than I was yesterday.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to be there anyway. It wouldn't be healthy. It wouldn't be a healthy situation.
Right.
And so it's the same situation with not staying at the apartment with my baby daddy because it's just not a healthy... Every time that I've left there, it's because we've gotten into an argument and it's gotten to a level where it's unhealthy for my children.
Right.
So when I leave, it is to guard my children from the fact that we are having some sort of conflict.
Yeah.
So, but like I'm saying, what I learned from that experience is that I have friends who will always be there for me. I have family that will always be there for me. I have safe havens. Right now I've got a closet in Indianapolis, a closet in Greenwood, a closet or 2 in Columbus. So I'm good.
All right. Yeah, and I think...
But it's still fun to tell a receptionist at a doctor's office, oh, I'm sorry, I'm homeless.
Oh, no. Usually people aren't excited about that, but Gena, apparently,
yeah.
You're like my little James niece.
Yeah, it's my badge of honor.
By the way, 9:30... 3.5 hours, no James niece.
Still no James.
Probably not coming.
But if he shows up at 10, I'm laughing.
I will laugh so hard. But, yeah, so oddly enough, I'm not worried about you, though.
Right, because I'm lucid, and I've always had a level of crazy. That's what makes me awesome. I'm crazy awesome.
Right, but it's not, scary. There's always been a little bit of unpredictability, but at the same time, the last few months, it really is, there are things that are threads that are connected where you go, okay, I know that's crazy, but that sounds kind of plausible.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem is that my paranoid delusions are plausible.
Right.
So is it paranoia and delusion in the event that it's actually fucking happening?
Right. But it just got to I noticed, as I thought about it the last week, I noticed that as the level of stress in your home life grew, the connections and the wider net that this delusion that you had, that it grew larger with the stress.
Yeah, that's probably a fact.
So I really think that what you thought was happening was not actually happening. I think you were placing that stress in another place to deal with what was actually happening.
Could be. I don't know. I'm trying not to dissect it too much. It's just that I'm taking everything with a grain of salt and going day by day. That's why you're like, what's your plan? And I'm like, plan? Psh, you've got to be crazy. Yeah, I'm the crazy one. You're the one talking about planning.
I thought you were in Iowa today. You're
Right.
What am I thinking?
All I said was, Iowa, I love you. And from there, people assumed that that's where I was. It's kind of like when you hold a hammer and ask people if they like Carrie Underwood. They assume you're going to do something crazy.
I know.
I had no intention of doing anything
I'm sorry,
crazy.
but when a 4'3" woman
Right.
holds a hammer above her head and between my car's knees, do you like Carrie Underwood?
I didn't even yell, and it wasn't above my head. It was down by my side. And I looked over real calmly, made eye contact, and said, hey, do you like Carrie Underwood?
And it's always the quiet ones that are the craziest.
Exactly. So
See, but I didn't understand that until you said the thing about the headlights.
yeah, well, she didn't either. That's why she was terrified. And that's okay. I'm not like denying why people are concerned. I'm just
Right.
angry because their concern has translated into loss of my authority over myself.
Yeah, but what do you do when you are as strong-willed as you are, and you are as bullheaded as you are,
Fact.
whether you'd like to admit that or not?
No, I admit it openly and freely.
Right. You are not the type of person that, and this was part of our dilemmas because, all right, what do we as a group here do when we're concerned about you?
Take me out to lunch and talk to me. Fuck.
Yeah, but is that going to, get you chemical or, psychiatric help?
See, I don't think that I received psychiatric help.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me.
You went to a state facility, maybe?
No,
or?
it was just a hospital.
Right. But, people are trying to help you because they're concerned.
Right,
so you
which
can,
I appreciate for
right.
the most part.
So you can say, oh, well, this, F them for doing it this way. But when you are the way that you are, when you are as stubborn as you are, people don't feel like they have a lot of choices. So they may not be doing what is best, but they're
Right.
doing it for your best interest.
Which is why I'm able to keep a level head about it, is that
Right.
I know that all the decisions that were made that I disagree with were made in what they felt was my best interest at the time,
Right.
even if I disagree with them.
Right.
So it's not as though I'm like livid and out there, seeking revenge or anything crazy. It is just that when decisions are consistently made to disregard my input on my care, that pisses me off to
Right.
the point of retaliation, and not physical retaliation so much as what do I have left. And that's when I hit him financially, and it was like, okay, I'll just drain your bank account. Like I said, I did it to prove a point more than to do something malicious, because within 2 hours I asked him to join me and willingly gave him all but $1.
Right, but but as part of that, you're saying, "Listen, I'm not a charity case. Don't treat me like I'm, infirmed."
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that's what aggravates me, is that we live in a state where something as simple as me trying to light a paper on fire can have me committed to a hospital against my will. And when I say committed to a hospital against my will, they have the right to inject you with things in that hospital. When I woke up and found out that there were commitment proceedings being filed, believe it or not, I was a little hostile and aggressive. I was a little pissed off.
Right.
So I stormed around and I ran my mouth, and within about 20 minutes, I decided to go to the dining hall of this awesome little treatment facility. I sat down with a coloring sheet and 3 fucking crayons, which, by the way, were crazy art crayons. So all of them were like, psycho purple, and the colors of these crayons were hilarious. So I sat down with these crayons, and I'm coloring a picture of some flowers, and this nurse comes up to me with another nurse, and he says, Gena, this is Angie. She's here to serve as my witness. If you don't calm down right now, and he's got a syringe in his hand, he says,
Really?
We are going to inject you with this. And I looked at her, and I said, okay, Angie, I need you to be my witness. I'm sitting here silently coloring a picture of 3 fucking irises with 3 crayons, and I've dissipated the same anger that he's about to inject me for.
Right.
And her eyes got to be about the size of saucers, and he started to back down. The only way that I was able to get out of that treatment facility was to flip the script on them. For example, they had mandated that I take this medication. And I have no diagnosis at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the psychiatrist for less than 20 minutes. He has diagnosed me with something that was like psychosis not otherwise specified.
Totally crazy in the head disease.
Right, exactly.
Right.
It was called psychosis not otherwise specified. And he had decided which medication he was going to put me on. So I'm taking this medication. It's in the form of a melt away. I stand right there in front of them. They watch it melt away in my mouth. And then all of them insist that I'm not taking the medication. After about 5 days of them telling me that they had suspicions of me not taking the medication that they were watching me take, I started looking at them and saying, you know, guys, I think you have paranoid delusions and you might need to see somebody. There are medications for what you suffer from. Don't worry. And once it became apparent to them that it was all a matter of perspective and they had to release me, they eventually did. But it took about 9 days in a 3-day treatment facility. So, I still, from a patient's rights perspective, I learned so much through this experience that it's mind-boggling. I'm a person who does not have an income right now. I don't have a tremendous amount of money that I live off of savings-wise. And the state of Indiana determined that I would be in this facility, which I know costs money, and I have no way of paying it back.
Right.
So I had no authority to leave, no ability to leave, and yet I'm going to be stuck with the payments for treatment that I didn't want to receive. So from a patient's rights perspective, it's really an educational experience that I went through because I had absolutely no rights whatsoever once I was committed to this hospital. Right. On a side note, though, I am the first person that my public defender has decided to file an appeal on behalf of. What sucks about that is that it's a 90-day commitment, and the judge and the clerical, the typist, what do they call that? Stenographer has 120 days to get me a copy of the hearing proceeding. So theoretically, my commitment could have been over for 30 days by the time we get the paperwork required to file the appeal.
Wow.
We're still going to go through with it because I want that expunged or however that works. I don't want that on my record because, to be honest with you, there was absolutely no legitimate reason for me to be committed other than I tried to light a piece of paper on fire. And if making fires is cause for commitment when it's not like arson, then we got issues.
I honestly, and I know it made it maybe sound worse than it was, we were concerned, but I wasn't concerned enough to,
call the police.
Or you weren't shaving your head and bashing an umbrella into the side mirror.
No.
You clearly...
I got you crazy.
Right, yeah. You just were, you clearly were just having a tough time, and it was going to go away, whatever it was.
Right.
And
it did.
Right, and... so do you think that the treatment though has helped because your skin looks brighter?
It's self-confidence.
Right.
It's the fact that I've gone through what I've gone through, and I continue to have the same mindset despite the efforts of everyone else to kind of derail that.
Right.
And that's what makes me look calmer, stronger, more composed. Is that it's like the worst case scenario has happened.
Right.
And I'm still standing, so fuck you.
Right.
And I'm still me. I'm still not afraid to go out on the limb and push the boundaries.
Yeah.
And I always will, most likely, assuming that they don't give me a lobotomy of some sort. Then we're good.
The bell jar was mentioned around here a few times. Sylvia Plath.
I haven't read that since high school.
I read it in college, and I just recommended it to Greg.
Aw, well, remind me, I forget.
Yeah, basically it is a personal narrative style written by Sylvia Plath. It's autobiographical, and this girl starts out totally normal and then is basically writing, and she descends into madness.
Yikes.
I think she's committed at one point. It's an interesting novel, but yeah, I think that it would do you it would serve you well to see someone, and I thought that now, and I thought that then, and
when you say see someone, psychiatry is like the ultimate exercise in narcissism, in my opinion. A psychiatrist is a person who seeks to weed out people who don't assimilate to the norms within society.
Well, you are sitting on a podcast talking about yourself, so
well, yeah, that's narcissism too.
But I understand.
But I don't make a living as a narcissist, a medical narcissist
right.
who has the ability to, chemically alter another person's brain.
Yeah, I don't know. I see your point that they're trying to make you quote unquote normal. And I'm sure I'd be...
And that's just never going to happen.
I understand that. But when there were certain things that were going on, I'm not equipped to tell you... I'm not equipped... I don't have strategies to say, Gena, that connection doesn't make sense.
That's fine.
I tried, but at a certain point you have to go, okay, there's something up here. I don't know what you need, but I feel like you need to talk to someone about some of the stress that is happening in your life.
But in my psychiatry appointments, I have never had that opportunity. Mm-hmm. It's never been a situation where I lay down and he says, tell me about your mother. That's never, ever happened. Right. And to be honest with you, this began October 28th, and today it is November 21st.
Right.
I've spent less than an hour while having conversations with a psychiatrist,
which is amazing considering you were there for 9 days.
Exactly.
So what the hell were you doing for 9 days?
They have you under surveillance the entire time. At one point, my therapy consisted of fucking Guitar Hero, and that is a goddamn truth.
Wow.
That is a fucking fact. They took me back to the group therapy room, and we played fucking Guitar Hero. At one point, I schooled a professional, some sort of mental health professional who was in a group thing, and she said, it is impossible for you to be hateful and grateful at the same time. And I was like, bullshit. I'm entirely hateful to be locked up in this facility, but I'm grateful for the experience of meeting the people that are here and, having all the string cheese I can eat and a stocked fridge full of juice. I could be grateful for the fact that I'm not in prison and still hateful as fuck for the fact that I'm here. And she's like, well, your brain doesn't work that way. And I was like, your brain might not work that way, but mine has no fucking trouble.
I don't really understand what she means because I see your point. I don't understand what she means.
Exactly. So in my group therapy, she's laying out falsehoods and non-factual information.
You can be happy yet unhappy. You can be satisfied with certain things and unsatisfied with other things.
Maybe it was simply a challenge. Maybe the entire reason she brought it up was for someone to challenge her.
Right.
All I know is that everybody else around there just nodded and... I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some people in there who needed help. There was one dude who came in and was out within 3 days who told me he wanted to kill people.
Wow.
And I was in there for 9 fucking days coloring pictures, doing cartwheels down the hall. Literally, I did cartwheels down the hall.
You'd be a really fun mental patient.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I blew their fucking minds. I'm also almost entirely convinced that some of the people in there were planted as, actors to appear to be more crazy than... I can't explain to you. This probably sounds like a paranoid delusion, but I really think that there were some people there who were... trying to make conversation so that you would open up to someone who was a peer and not the doctor. I mean, that's plausible, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's not the most likely scenario, but it's plausible.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to where we had to break it down, is that the first time I met with the psychiatrist, I was so heavily sedated on Haldol that he probably heard the deepest, darkest... recesses of the mind paranoia that a person has.
I find Chris Spangle attractive.
Right. Well, that and, aliens have anal probed and, whatever.
Horrifying thoughts like that.
Who knows what I told that man? I still don't know what I told that man. All that I know is that when I woke up 2 days later, I had a commitment hearing to attend. So that was fun. But no, I felt like I've been railroaded. And as I said, we're still going to file the appeal. We're still going to fight it. Because, frankly, it was unjustified. And it's still unjustified. Even though I act out and I do things that are not normal, I don't feel that I have a mental illness.
Right.
And that's not because of the stigma attached to mental illness. I think if you have a mental illness and you embrace that and you find ways to treat it, that you're a very strong person. It's not a judgment that I hold against that. It's simply that for me, I feel mentally sound.
Yeah, like I would say that it's not something that is, it's not schizophrenia. It's not something
and that is what they're alleging. I do believe, because apparently my father's grandmother suffered from something that was undiagnosed, and she died at 35. Yeah. So he was just shitting his pants that I was going to die because I was going crazy like his grandmother had, and I don't know. So once he told that to my mom, it was on. I was at the hospital.
Right.
Yeah, it just whatever, man.
I don't get that vibe from you.
It's not.
I mean,
it's because I don't think it was a legitimate concern, which is why I'm still fighting it.
Right.
But that's been the excitement in Gena land. What's going on with you, Spangle Bear?
Yeah, I got nothing compared to that. I mean, really, like seriously, like
who does though?
So, yeah,
so I went to Kroger.
I've been. I had a really righteous banana chocolate milkshake from Steak and Shake.
Nice.
The wife is making 2 crock-pot meals tonight. Let's see, I'm looking around here. I had a box of chocolate-covered cherries this week.
Right.
So yeah, I went crazy. Had 3 candy bars.
3 whole candy bars.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of westerns on the Netflix. No, I honestly, yeah. Things are good. Can't really get into a lot right now, but things are very good in my life.
Awesome.
It's a few transitions, and can't really go into detail, but that time will come soon, and we'll get to it. I'm not getting divorced.
Good.
So nothing wrong there. We aren't getting rid of buttons.
I might be, which is sad because I never thought that I would have to go to the point of legally divorcing the baby daddy.
Right.
But right now I see him as a liability because he has the authority to take away my autonomy. Right. And that is simply not acceptable.
Well, let me frame it like this. He may be doing things that he feels are necessary to protect first his kids and then you.
Right, which I respect. I respect that he did what he thought was the right thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I disagree with what he did, and the fact that he has the authority to take away my autonomy is not something that I am comfortable with.
Right.
So as a result, I feel like I'm going to have to take the step of having a legal divorce, which really saddens me.
Right.
Because I like the guy. He's a good guy. Mm-hmm. He's been a wonderful husband. We've had our differences, but every time that we do, I simply leave.
Right.
And at this point, I feel that I no longer have that option, and that is what makes a divorce a necessity.
Right.
So that sucks, but it's been a long time coming, so it's not that big a deal.
Right. I don't think it shocks either of you, and you've kind of talked about it here.
Right.
And you guys have had those discussions.
And we've been separated for damn near 2 years.
Right. But he's also been financial support because you've been watching the kids. I mean, so...
Right. And I've been financially beneficial to him because I've been watching the kids. But as a result of all of this, I no longer have that ability.
Right.
And so that's, sad.
Which sucks, yeah.
Yeah, that's really sad that I'm in that situation. But I see how it transpired. I'm not, angry or looking for vengeance. I'm just wanting it resolved.
Right. So, I mean...
Right.
So if anybody out there owns a business and would like to hire Gena...
Right. I'm a terrible employee. Don't hire me. I'm completely inconsistent. I show up when I want to. I do what I need to. Generally, I'll save you money in the long run, but, buddy, I'm not an 9 to 5 type of girl.
Right. So what are we going to do for money? We need to do something with you to get you paid.
I'm still looking. I'm still trying to find a gig that either I can do electronically or... I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Listeners, if you have ideas, send us an email at spangle@wearelibertarians.com.
Yes.
And if you got ideas for us, we need to brainstorm some job ideas for Gena here in Indianapolis.
If you need someone who is insanely creative.
It's true.
That is this guy right here.
Insanely creative. Yeah.
Yes. If you need an actress.
Right.
That's this guy right here. If you need, I don't know. I got a lot of skills and talents. I used to be a dance teacher, but it turns out people get really pissed off when their kids come home dropping F-bombs. So I had to let that go.
I don't know. I almost feel like you would be a good secretary.
I was once, but I'm not any longer.
Right.
I used to be the executive assistant to the president of a global aerospace company.
Right.
But now I'm to the point where I would need an assistant to keep my appointments straight and yada yada. The phone helps.
Right.
Being able to plug things into the phone. I guess technically I am a community activist, but that doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
When
unless you become
freelance.
president.
Yeah.
I think you'd be great at like some sort of hipster type job, like running a community garden or running some sort of.
As long as I don't have to supervise it constantly.
Right.
And it's kind of cold for a community garden right now.
Well, see that whole work thing. You do have to show up when you have to show up.
I'm just saying gardens don't grow in November in Indiana.
Well, they might. I'm sure there's somebody growing weed somewhere.
Right.
So if you were a weed farmer, Gene would be great at that.
Well, I've actually quit that.
Good.
Yeah, no, it's not really. I miss it. But that's temporary, too.
Well, that probably helps a lot because...
I don't know, Spangle. Because it mellows me out and it levels me.
Yeah,
so not having it is kind of...
That may also be why you are not paranoid.
I doubt it, because when I say I quit, I mean I've quit within the last 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
So it's not like you would see the effects of that
that's
already.
That's not quitting.
Yeah. Hey, it's a start.
Yeah, that's right. You've got your 48-minute chip.
Exactly. One day at a time, baby.
1 day at a time.
12 steps of recovery.
Yeah. So anything else, Gina? Anything that we are not covering?
A million things, but those you can get those in the director's cut of my book or something. I should sit down and write, but I feel as though anything that I write anywhere is there's no security. Like I don't have antivirus software. Mm-hmm. I know that people have access to what I put in my phone.
All right, see that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what we were talking about.
Seriously though.
I don't think it's implausible, but I do think that there
if you've downloaded an app on an iDevice, people have access to your shit. That's just fact.
Yeah, and you've let people download to your experimental things to your phone that could totally be plausible.
Yeah.
And knowing how free you are with your nudity, I'd totally put something on your phone if I were them.
Right.
Me, I'm a happily married man. I have enough to eat at home. But
fill the people in case they missed that.
That was
we are libertarians.
Mayor Rob Ford. That guy is a treat. But so I wish you well, Gina Bear.
Thank you.
And you let me know if you need any help.
I will. I think I'm doing good, though. Honestly, I was doing good then. I was good the next morning once the Haldol injections wore off.
Right.
And so I think that frustrated and irritated them more than anything. I did, however, discover that the judge who heard my case, at least from the experience of the public defender that I was assigned to, he stated that that judge had never sided against the doctor in a case that he had been the public defender for.
Wow. And
my entire hearing was maybe 35 minutes.
Wow.
And I will tell you this, Spangle. At one point, the doctor looked at the judge and said, and she thinks she ran for state senate. He used that as an example of a paranoid delusion that I ran for office.
Right, which you could easily verify by looking it up.
Right. So that was used against me in a fucking commitment hearing, and I'll get the papers that prove it 120 days.
She believes she's on a highly successful libertarian podcast.
Yes, exactly. She believes that she does things.
Right.
So, anyway, it's just been an enlightening experience, and I have learned, like, absurd things exist. So one young man was telling me that he's homeless, but he didn't have an address in the city where we were. Mm-hmm. And so the homeless shelters would not allow him to stay there without an address in that city.
Okay.
Now, if you are homeless, how the fuck do you have an address?
That's a good point.
Right.
There are occasions where, like, if you're on parole, you have to have a house. You can't, like, if you're in legal trouble, they will not let you use Wheeler Mission as your address.
That's not the case. What's going on here is that this guy, let's use Wheeler as an example.
Okay.
It would be as though Wheeler Mission was like, we're sorry, you do not have an address on your driver's license that indicates that you live in Indianapolis. Ergo, you cannot have access to Indianapolis city resources.
That's bizarre.
Right. Well, if you have an address, you do not need to be in a homeless shelter.
Right.
So the guy would basically have to go get a P.O. box in order to satisfy their requirements. But if you are so broke and homeless that you cannot afford a P.O. box, you cannot get shelter.
Right.
In the middle of winter in Indiana.
Right.
It should be fucking cold here, guys. Now, it's been kind of pretty, to be honest, but it should be really cold.
Yeah.
So anyway, there are a lot of advocacy opportunities that I discovered from this little adventure, if you will, down the rabbit hole of what is mental health.
Right.
So that it's not an entire wash for me. Because I never felt that they were justified in the committal.
Right.
I still don't. But like I said, it'll all come out in the appeal. However, there are still things that I learned from it so that I can appreciate the experience. And like I said, it's funny to me. That's terrible. I have a twisted sense of humor. That's not news to anybody. But it truly is amusing to me at times what I've gone through.
Right.
And maybe that's my coping mechanism is humor.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it fucking works.
Right.
So as long as... Because otherwise, I might be angry. I might want retribution. But I don't. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
It'll all pass. This too shall pass. Everything shall pass.
And you've only used 4 curse words on this podcast, so clearly something's improving.
Well, I mean, when I use curse words, you know I'm happy. So, and I'm not angry with my mom. I know she did what she thought was best at the time. She just made mistakes.
Right.
No big deal. But yeah, it was enlightening. You find out who your friends are when your back's against the wall, and I got a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So I'm not tore up about it.
You can curl up at the end of the bed with me and Samantha and sleep on our feet.
Aw, with the little mittens and muffins.
Yep, like a little
sandwich.
Like a little Gena squirrel.
Aw.
So, yeah, we can wrap whenever you're ready.
No, I just wanted to see how long we'd been talking. I saw speaking of batshit crazy, leaving me out of it, I saw a story about a 14-year-old student who raped and murdered his teacher in the bathroom. Did you see this?
This is the story you wanted to lead the podcast with. And
no,
I was
I'm
like,
not. We'll go to another one, but the kid's like 14, and he comes from a home he was in a troubled home. And I guess he followed the teacher to the bathroom and assaulted her so viciously with a box cutter.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, what's happening in our schools that is...
I think there's always been... I think when you extrapolate the population, so, you know, we're a country of 330 million, and 100 years ago we had 30 million. And so... 1% of our nation is violent, crazy people. Well, it's just way more people, but it's the same percentage, and it gets more coverage because of the internet.
Yeah, and I should mention, people, I'm not bringing that up for any any subconscious reason. I went to CNN, and it was the first headline that came up.
Yeah, like
because I was trying to do show prep in like the last 5 minutes.
So I feel like there's not more of these. There are more in number, but not more in percentage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good radio.
They solved the riddle of the rotating Egyptian statue. Did you hear about that?
No, what is this?
So there was, in London, they had this statue that is in a locked case, and it was from Egypt. Mm-hmm. And they had time-lapse photography of the thing rotating on its own. It would rotate 35, 40 degrees. It went from facing one direction to the other. And they couldn't figure out what was causing it, and the video of it went viral.
Right.
But apparently some sort of engineer had used some piece of equipment to prove that the vibrations of traffic, both foot traffic and motor traffic, were causing the statue to turn on its own.
Why this one statue and not others? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it probably has to do with the way that it's the base is
Maybe
formed.
It's got like a very flat, smooth bottom.
Yeah.
Like me.
But there were, rumors of it being cursed and this, that, and the other. But apparently, it can be proven with vibrations. So, see, honestly, I did try to do show prep that had to do with things other than me being crazy.
Gena, you didn't.
I tried.
This is already like an award-winning show. You don't have to tell me about the Egyptian turning statue.
I know,
Good
but I didn't
radio
want it
has
to be
been done.
all Gena's crazy, and here's why.
Yeah, but that's really the beauty of Storytime with Gena.
It's true.
So, you live an interesting life, and we want to dive right into it. And we like to talk about various interesting subjects. Like religion or doing it.
Religion and doing it. I haven't been doing it in so long, I wouldn't know what doing it was.
Well.
But I used to doing it and doing it and doing it well.
Well,
I just got to find a partner that I can trust who won't have me committed when things get rough. That's all.
Well,
it's not that fucking hard.
I don't know if that person exists.
Well, he might be out there.
Yeah.
If you're that guy, send applications to Spangle.
Yes. We obviously will have me screen them for you.
Yes.
So
right.
all potential dating partners must go through me if they want to get to you.
Perfect.
So I really ought to offer that service. Like, I have several friends that are girls that, like, really they just have they make terrible choices.
Aww.
And they really just need to let me decide who they should date or not. Because I'm married. I don't care about, I want you to be happy. I don't care about dating you. I'm a happily married man. I have enough to eat at home. So it really comes down to me saying, no, I'm sorry, you're a loser. Gena will not be speaking with you.
Aww.
Like, I want to start a dating service. That's what we need to do. That's what you need to do, Gena.
Libertarian dating service?
That's your job. I will be the you and I will be the ultimate decider.
We will be the deciders.
That's right. You want to date, then you must go through Chris and Gena to get to Laura or Dave.
I agree. I think that's a great idea.
So listen, honey.
Or Laura and Lisa. We don't discriminate.
That's right. We're a libertarian dating service.
You must. Yeah, I dig that. Good idea.
Muffins and John. We don't discriminate.
I mean, we might draw some lines.
All right. No bestiality. But look how cute she is.
Minimal bestiality.
Look how cute she is.
I mean, she does have lovable eyes.
Can you please get off the counter, you dirty cat?
Yeah, she's trying very hard to lick the spatula.
Oh.
You might let Samantha know that.
I'm just saying, start a dating service. I will be a partner with you. I will be the silent partner that makes sure we don't go into bankruptcy.
But what happens when one crazy guy shows up with a hatchet and everything goes downhill?
That's a good point.
That's a liability for us.
Yeah, I don't think they sell hatchet insurance.
Yeah, I think that's a Craigslist problem, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that can be probably sheared up with a no responsibility clause.
That's where
limited liability.
That's where the Maya dating security service comes in.
Nice.
So
Maya will personally escort you on your first date, and if anybody gets fresh, she will put shit down.
That's right.
Get off!
Get out of here!
I like that. That's the solution.
Maya's been really sick lately. Like, she doesn't have much of a voice.
I hate hearing that.
Yeah, just for like 2 weeks, she's really been sick. So hope she's feeling better.
Aww.
So we do want Maya to have a voice.
No, I'm feeling great, but honestly, I was feeling great the day after everything went down.
So back to you again.
I'm sorry. Yeah, always back to me. Well, it's story time with me, goddammit. I'll be my me.
Let's we've wandered into Maya territory. Transition back to me.
I need to go back and start getting guests again because that was fun. That was when the show was about stuff other than the downward spiral of
Gena.
Yeah.
Well, we had Blue.
Yeah.
And I would like to have Blue on for more of an extended period.
Yeah.
But who else have we had?
Well, we had Ruben and Enchilada Guy.
Oh, Josh Breyer?
Maybe. That might have been who it was.
He left a good impression. You can't remember him. Enchilada
Well, no, I
Guy?
remember that we had a really good discussion on education.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his girlfriend's daughter, and I think it was Josh.
So if you want to be a guest on Storytime with Gena, just randomly show up at my apartment.
Exactly. Have a topic in mind.
Thursdays at 7.
Right.
So.
Not 7, because that's wall time.
That's right. More
but
like
9-ish.
10-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should hit Gena up on Facebook.
That would be nice. I would like to get back on topics that involve things other than me burning various forms and
paper.
Yeah.
Only requirement is food.
If food helps, please bring food. Gena likes food.
Yeah. So, all right, what do you say we wrap this up?
Wrapping it up sounds good because I'd like to go get some dinner.
I'm starving. That's really why I'm kicking you out. I need to eat.
Basically, if you have a loved one, let them make their own decisions. If you feel they are capable, and if you feel they aren't capable, discuss it with them. Although I don't know that I would have won that discussion. All I know is I'm livid. I'm spitting nails.
You look so angry.
I know,
right
and I'm like, hee, I'm so mad.
Like, I'm spitting nails.
Right. and love your loved ones, and do better always. Just kidding. We need a tagline. How are we going to end this shit?
Say goodnight, Gena.
Good night, Gena.